name is Max Romek. I am a first-year costume design student at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I went to undergrad at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and we're working on a design for the resistible rise of Arturo.
And I'm Katie Schrader. I am a senior in undergrad at the University of Michigan, studying costume design and technology.
The character we're focusing on is Arturo himself. So my big idea for this whole design is really keying into that Brechtian idea of this is a performance we are watching, sort of people play out these events. So I took this stage of gangsters and politics and put it in sort of this 1920s circus and vaudeville act. So all the characters play a significant role in the circus that sort of goes along with the role they play in the rise of Arturo. So Arturo is the ringmaster, in charge of everything, dressed in sort of this classic ringmaster look with the red tuxedo, dark boots, top hat, and then adding a large carnation to it and tiny glasses for some fun styling. And throughout the design, the casting is very loose and sort of gender neutral. And I wanted to really clue into that androgyny and how androgyny played a part in especially performers of the 1920s, with how the clothing interacts with the actors and who's wearing them. So for Uwe specifically, I didn't want to hide the fact that this is a female actress playing this male role.
So beginning this collaboration, it was very interesting in especially learning which questions to ask, especially looking at the rendering, working with a new designer, and kind of working in period research that I didn't have much previous experience in. And so as someone new to tailoring, it was learning how to ask questions in regard to the rendering and in regards to tailoring and how the research tied into everything. So it was looking at the research and the shape of the collar or the roll line of the jacket, and kind of beginning that collaboration between what the designer drew and then what I would be making.
And I know for me, answering those questions was also having to sort of think for myself, well, what did I mean all those months ago when I drew this? As opposed to, I know that I liked this research. I know that this is where I'm drawing from. So then finding for myself where that line lands to get across the exaggerations or changes, as opposed to keeping it relatively true.
So basically in our process, we took traditionally men's patterns and we used those when we were drafting. And so then taking those male drafted patterns, we ended up having to do some adjustments on the patterns just to make sure everything would fit properly. But it was interesting to kind of take the men's patterns and then using them, kind of tweak them a bit to create a feminine silhouette while still keeping with the male style lines and the male shape. So pretty much the next steps that we have laid out are we have taken apart the mock-up and we are working on pattern corrections and working on figuring out that back piece and kind of where that seam should end up. And then we're also playing around with the shorts and the waistband and the hem and all that fun stuff. And then once we have the pattern corrections all set and trued up, then we're going to go into cutting out the canvas and getting all of our lines down and starting to, I guess, assemble everything. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a struggle, but it is very interesting working over long distance like this, just since it's something I've never done before, because there is that kind of waiting time where you're kind of waiting for the designer to email you back. And so you're kind of like, oh, I guess I'll move on to another part of the jacket, because you can't just do it without the designer's input.
I know for me, using Slack has actually been really great because it's one place where everything lives and I can remember what I sent. And if a question comes up, like when I was looking at that shorts line, I could go right into Slack. I knew where all the research was and go in between very quickly, research, rendering, in order to make that decision. So that's been actually really helpful for me in this process. This has been a really exciting process to sort of have something in my mind that I've drawn and painted, and then sending it off and sort of putting a lot of trust in someone else to add whatever they're going to and add sort of their skill and talent to it. And then waiting very excitedly and in anticipation, like, oh, I know there's going to be a fitting on Thursday morning. I can't wait. And then seeing what comes back, and it's really awesome. And it's so cool to see it become 3D and take on a life. And I can't wait to see how it continues to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just been great to kind of be trusted with this project, especially as an undergrad, kind of working at a very basic tailoring level, and to be trusted with creating this vision of this costume that you've made. And yeah, just kind of seeing your decisions all. Every time I get an email from you, I'm like, ooh, Max made a decision. Okay, let's go work on the costume.